Ian Garry just crowned himself the greatest welterweight walking this planet. He says he's knocking out Belal Muhammad this Saturday, taking his title shot right after. And if the UFC wants an interim belt with Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's more than ready for that too. And speaking of energy, the whole drama with Rampage Jackson just resurfaced. Their beef started over what was basically a podcast misunderstanding. Garry was scheduled to go on the Jackson podcast during UFC 298 Fight Week, but days before the appearance, Rampage went on Ariel Helwani's show and claimed Garry didn't want to come on because he was scared of being made fun of. He even dragged Gary's family into it. Machado fired back immediately, calling Rampage fat and stupid for saying that when he was literally already booked to appear, and then he pulled out of the episode entirely. Later, Rampage explained the whole thing on another podcast with Anthony Pettis, admitting he got the situation wrong. He said there was another fighter who was worried about being ridiculed, but he mistakenly assumed it was Garry. But the damage was done, and Rampage openly said Ian is the only fighter he genuinely dislikes, calling him a bitch and saying he can't stand him. Alright, let's roll the clip.
The only way I'd take another fight is if Islam is injured, Shavkat comes back and they say it's an interim world title fight.
Okay.
Because I want to get that win back. But that's the only fight I would take. When I beat Belal Muhammad and when I knock him out in the fashion that I know I'm going to do, there is nothing else. I would take the Shavkat one for my own self-sanity and my own want and willingness. But Islam Makhachev is the champion of the world. When I knock out number one in the world, there's no one else above him. It's Islam Makhachev's job to show up. He stepped into this division. He conquered the belt. He did what he wanted to do. Now he needs to face the best in the world. When I knock out Belal, I'm the best in the world. All the top welterweights are going to compete in 7 days of each other. I want the world seeing that Ian Garry is the single greatest welterweight walking this planet right now. That's my job on Saturday night.
You are very good at this.
Khamzat Chimaev just gave the wildest answer of UFC Qatar Fight Week. He was asked about the scenario where Ilia Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan actually clash backstage. Khamzat's in a tough spot. He's cool with Ilia, but Arman is like family, and he's cornering him tomorrow for the Dan Hooker main event. He made it clear he would never touch Ilia, but if the two start throwing hands, he'll let them settle it one-on-one. The middleweight champ later said that he would only start taking out the people who interfere. These comments were wild. He basically says he would not throw down with Ilia, but he would throw down with Alexander Topuria, because who else would jump in there if not Ilia's brother? Anyway, these comments blew up online, even though Arman already said he has no problem with Topuria, and that if they meet face to face, he would not do anything aggressive. He even said he would say hello and shake his hand. Tsarukyan and Hooker are fighting for the number one contender spot in Ilia Topuria's division. It is still unknown whether El Matador will be in the lightweight division by the time the winner of this fight gets a title shot, as the Islam Makhachev talks are heating up fast.
Right now, Ilia Topuria is here, and you came as well. Same with Arman. Everyone keeps wondering whether something will happen if Arman and Ilia run into each other. Could your presence prevent any sort of altercation?
If something happens, it will stay one-on-one between them. I would only step in to take out anyone who tries to interfere. I really don't think anything is going to happen, and I hope nothing happens. This is a sport. We need moments like this in the sport. We need loud fights. They are building a fight, and this is the right way to promote.
After a bunch of awkward, forced questions from the reporter, Khamzat was basically pushed into giving a stylistic take on Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. The champ kept it respectful, but he did admit one thing clearly. In his eyes, whenever it is striker versus wrestler, he leans wrestler every time. Coming from a decorated wrestler like Chimaev, that is not surprising, but he still made sure not to disrespect Ilia and kept everything measured. Then, the narrative was thrown at Ilia that Arman would simply take him down and out-wrestle him. Topuria shut that down immediately. He completely disagreed with the idea that it is some basic striker versus wrestler equation. El Matador insisted that there is way more to the matchup than people think, and that Arman would not just be able to do whatever he wants. But in reality, Ilia versus Arman might not even happen. If the undefeated Georgian wins his next fight, there is a very real chance he moves up to welterweight to face Islam Makhachev. That is the direction most signs point to, which makes the lightweight matchup with Arman a long shot right now. Meanwhile, Tsarukyan is taking on Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar in just a few hours. Alright, let's dive in.
You can't analyze the wrestling that way because you never know. You see a Russian guy wrestling with a American guy, and it can go either way, you know what I mean? Before you were seeing guys in MMA, they were good in striking and maybe in wrestling, but their ground game wasn't that good. Or you see a guy who has a phenomenal ground game, he has a phenomenal striking, but his wrestling sucks. In my case, I'm good everywhere. So you can take me everywhere and I'm gonna feel comfortable. They used to say, like, I'm gonna take you to the deep water. I was born in the deep water. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Take me wherever you wanna take me. But I have so many things. He's gonna have some hard time with me. The only thing I need, it's one punch. And you know for sure that I'm gonna connect that one punch.
Chael Sonnen believes Kamaru Usman is the one who deserves the next shot at Islam Makhachev, but he also admits Ian Garry might steal that opportunity depending on what happens at UFC Qatar. Chael said he wants to see Kamaru get one more crack at a title because of his legacy, his resume, and the fact that he is still one of the most complete fighters in the sport. But the reality is this: Ian Garry's hype is massive right now, and with the UFC, that stuff matters. If the Irishman shows out against Belal Muhammad, especially with a finish, Chael thinks he could easily jump the line. All week, Machado has been loud, promising he is the guy to dethrone Islam, saying he's levels above anyone in the division and acting like the belt is already his. His only loss is to Shavkat Rakhmonov, a competitive matchup that went the distance and narrowly went Shavkat's way. Rakhmonov himself is gearing up for a comeback. His team just released footage yesterday showing him slowly ramping up training again. So right now the division is in a weird spot. Usman has the merit, Garry has the momentum, and Shavkat is lurking in the background. Chael believes it all comes down to Garry's performance against Belal. One spectacular win, and suddenly the entire picture changes.
I know that Garry is going to do everything he can to steal that fight. And Garry, with a good performance and one shot on a microphone, can cover more ground than an other fighter having a year's worth of victories could do. I believe Kamaru Usman is the guy for Islam. I believe it's just as a fan, that's the match that will show us what Islam can do standing up. Because he is not going to just get on top of Usman. I also think that Islam standing up is probably better than we give him credit for. But this would be his chance to show that. I think that's a very fascinating match, particularly in the absence of Rakhmonov. And I don't want Kamaru to sit this one out. Kamaru Usman, as a sportsman, as a gentleman, oftentimes sits these things out. And I don't want him to do that. I want him to jump in this fight. He needs to understand Garry is coming for him. Gary's coming for his spot.
That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.